Good morning. How's everybody doing? We're switching it up today. Today we're going to talk about one of my favorite pastimes, war. What's war to you? What do you think of when you think war? Do you think physical violence and people killing each other? Is that your version of war? To me, that's not war. That's manipulation at the lowest order. So let me pose this to you. Where does war start? You can show me the battle lines. You can show me the statistics. You can give me dates and times. But we all know that's not where the war started. You can show me how this person did this to that person, and you can show me these actions over here to led to these people raising arms against them, and you can tell me that is war. But I won't agree with you. For the people that started that conflict are never on the battlefield. They're never near the guns. They're never ducking the bullets. The war is fought with thought and word. Can't move an army until Congress approves it, right? And Congress wouldn't approve a conflict for our troops unless there was a reason for that conflict according to their theologies, good or bad, right or wrong. But this is the way that war is done, right? But again, I find a flaw. Again, I see something that means so much more and it's been compacted down and treated as only a negative. Again, there's no duality, as it were. So it makes it the lie, you see. So it makes so many things lies, is the lack of duality inside of them. So you can tell a lie because there's not two sides to it. But war itself, wars aren't fought on battlefields. They're fought with the mind. In any war that's ever existed, any person that's died, they died for the thought of a person that didn't watch them lose their life. It's been the way of things since the beginning of time, right? It's just how it is. But war, the version that you talk about, is too costly. They lose workers, and you can make more things, and you can always print more money, and you can make as many weapons as you want. But it takes a long time to make a people. The people's the best resource there is in the world because your time is how things are created. It's not created by money and resources. It's created because you as a human being put your time into it. What you trade for that's your own problem. But your time is what's needed to build the world around us. Your innovation, your creativity, your discipline. It doesn't matter what subject we're talking about. It requires multiple people working on it for it to even kind of work. And to succeed, it must be a universal truth. If the world wasn't controlled how it is, I wouldn't have anything to say. I'd probably be focused through philosophy on the concept of God only. Take my place yelling into the abyss about what I think God is. But free will is stifled in the world, and it's done by the war on the mind. The reality that we live in, most people can only understand the clothes they wear and the words they use, kinda, and the job that they have that defines their reality. But why is it like this? It has nothing to do with the wars of man. It has to do with the wars of the soul, as it were. And we don't even have to agree that you have a soul, but 26.8 grams dissipates when you die. They did a hospice study, 100 patients, everything on the bed. When they died, it was a weight bed. They all lost 26.8 grams. This is a universal truth of loss when you die. Somehow energy weighs 26.8 grams. Google it. So you do lose when you die. You lose quantifiable weight. It's interesting, right? And if that's true, but most of us don't care or understand how it's applicable or why we should care, then it's not something we think about. And the more things that we're just assured is this, and we can use it as a common denominator to be part of society, the less that people feel the need to think outside the box. I don't need to think about 1 times 1. I went to first grade. I know 1 times 1 equals 1. I know that. It doesn't matter that they taught me the word multiplication means to increase. It doesn't matter that the word of the definition itself is being used incorrectly. No, we're only going to focus on the way that we're teaching math. It doesn't matter that the human language that we use to communicate is being used incorrectly in a math equation. It doesn't matter. And it won't change any of the math, and it doesn't change how we look at any of it. And you're just being an asshole for even saying it. That's like living in the movie Idiocracy. That's exactly what that mentality is. Electrolytes. What? See, I'm not fighting a war with people. To physically fight a war with people, I would have to agree with somebody in power that has what we consider the right to give us the option to kill other people. That's not my version of war. You know what war is to me every day? Getting up and choosing to love the world. That's a war. Getting up every day and having faith that if I just stay as I am and I continue to heal and try to be a good human being, that good things will come. Do you know what kind of mental war that is on a day-to-day basis when there's no significant way to sustain your faith without? Do you know what that's like? It's like walking through hell. That's war. Can someone else get me to think like them? That's a war. Can someone else make me judge somebody else based on how they expressed how they feel about it? And I shouldn't think for myself. That's a war. Not being a felon and doing criminal fucking shit, that's easy. Saying please and thank you every time, that takes discipline. Being a good human being and caring, it's like trying to hug a Christmas tree or razors. That's war. Do you love yourself when you get up in the morning? How many of you have never even shown up to fight that war? How many of you sit at home and pretend that the version of you that you are is the version of you that you wanted to be? It's a war. And war is to gain control and dominance and resources. We say that war is, righteous and holy wars and We got to stop these people. We got to stop those people. It's not that those people have never been educated, and we could spend like a quarter of the money that we spent on the missiles to educate and give water and electricity to everybody in that country. It's not like we couldn't do that. Not when we could put them on a one world banking system. And if they don't comply, their credit rating goes down and they become less in society. Your version of war and my version of war are different. When you think war, you think of something distant that happened, a history thing, or another country and the conflict that's going on right now. You don't consider that everything in front of you and all the ads and all the bullshit is made to keep you from thinking about anything else than yourself. What you own in the 3D isn't who you are. How you treat people is who you are. Your reactions, the way that you create in the world, that's your responsibility, no matter how much you want to deny it. And I know it's easier to not go to war with yourself. I know it's really easy to slip into behavior patterns that 100%, why change them? I'm not hurting anyone else. I get that mentality. I've been on that battlefield. I go there all the time. I got my own shooting range. And we don't feel worthy, right? We don't feel like we deserve stuff. We feel like we're just not loved or we're not cared about the whole time. All you gotta do is go look in the mirror to find somebody that'll be your biggest fan. Philosophy is war of the mind. And the point is to create thinking, not to create thought, not to conform to another person's idea. It's throwing an idea out there and letting everybody cut as much as they want off of it and seeing if it still exists at the end. Some very, very great concepts have been put forth into the world for the humanity as a whole, if they want to look at. So they made philosophy not cool. They made the concept of understanding God or lack of God, they commercialized it and they built houses for it. And they expect you to leave money for them for doing it for you, for being the bridge to your own spirit externally. Why would they do that? If you're supposed to have a personal interrelationship with God, why wouldn't that very personal interrelationship cause you to want to learn? And not just about the Bible, but like in general about all kinds of things. Wouldn't your passion, if you believe that God created all and that, why wouldn't you search out as much knowledge about the creation that you're experiencing so you can do the best job of being a caretaker while you're here for the creation that you say God gave you to experience? Why don't you do that? Because most people are unaware of the real war going on in the world, and it has nothing to do with violence. It has to do with misinformation, misdirection of thought. It's the only way they've gotten people to become disconnected from themselves. It's the only way. Nobody notices. I'll give you a little history lesson this morning of war. And talk about one. I like history. The American Revolution, the start of the United States, fighting Great Britain, throwing the tea in the fucking drink, and just, you know, want to hear the truth? Want to hear a history lesson you never heard in school? So the British would have won. Not even a problem. They had 1,000 times the troops and resources and supplies, and it was only a matter of shipping them across the short ocean and doing whatever they please. You go, that's not how it went. That's exactly how it was. You know what happened? They had treaties with all the Native Americans, all of them. Couldn't take their land, couldn't develop it, a whole bunch of things. And the crown was the decided that. When the crown makes a decision, you don't go against the fucking crown or you're off with your head, especially back then. But these upstart Americans who had no peace treaties with any of the Native Americans at all. They lost the war, then England would be stuck dealing with the United States as a Native American fucking nation. But if they lost the war and did peace treaties with America to become its trade partner, and then funded and supplied Americans so they could go in having no peace treaty and kill all the fucking Native Americans in fucking America and then establish a country, good old Queen of England, financially backing the entire fucking thing. And you're really going to hate me for this one Chinese man that had so much fucking money. And he funded most of the development of the beginning of the United States period. A Chinese man. Remember how we always say we hate fucking China? We wouldn't even fucking exist if it wasn't for the Chinese dynasty that funded America. You fucking liars. America was created by the British, by the Queen of fucking England herself and her people, by allowing their allies to be murdered by the people they signed a new peace treaty with that was going to become an economic superpower in which they would be made insanely rich. And you know what happened? They did. And it worked out exactly like they planned it. And now we have America. So, really, if you want to get technical about it, remember when we talk about slave trade and all these other things? Do you know where the money goes? England, the Vatican, church and state. Follow the money. How'd they make money off every war that's ever existed since the beginning of their dynasty? How'd they manage that? How do they make a profit off every war? Because they started, their test model was the United States. So who's doing the war? Is it the soldiers? Is it the Americans? The American Revolution? And like all these things, like, no. Some really smart person sat down with some other smart people and figured out how to manipulate the whole world and control it. But the version of the war that you're presented is history, unless you dig deep and you get into the real history and you go past what they just teach you at school. And guess what? You find that history is written by the victors. And the victors are the ones that were smart enough to cause the scenarios that allowed them victory. Those are the people actually fighting the wars. And if you're not on a mindset of this mentality, if you can't think rationally and 100 steps ahead and plan things out so they absolutely work out the way they should based on truth, that's how I do it. If you're not playing at that level, then you're just a good soldier. And I'm not bagging on our soldiers and I'm not bagging on our veterans. Some of my best friends are veterans. My family were Navy people. I wasn't. I went federal prison. That was my boot camp. But this concept of war, this idea that we have when we say war And yet there's teachers out there fighting against banned books. That's a real war. Those people are just as courageous as those that went and died for somebody else's bullshit. We have a bunch of dead sons and daughters because there's a small group of people that are actually waging war, and they're doing it against everybody. Nobody gets a break, and you only get out of most of the bullshit if you get rich enough. You know what they don't teach you in school? Finance. You have to go to college for it. Why is that? Here's an even better one. You can have the worst credit in the world. I'm just going to teach you this real quick. You look into it. You can start an LLC. You probably heard about it by now, right? But when you start an LLC, they give you a whole new tax code number. It's not connected to your social security card anymore. It's a new tax credit. And you immediately can get at least $20,000 in a small business loan. As soon as you get your LLC, you can get that into a bank account attached to your LLC and then start finance. That's how you play the game of finance. It's the only way to play finance. Nothing else works. Anybody that's actually rich and won at the game, they'll tell you the same thing. Everything they own is an LLC. Everything they own is based on the tax brackets over here. Most of them only have $10,000, $15,000 in their fucking bank account, but they have assets worth millions and billions of dollars. All of it is in LLCs because that's what you use to have a credible business in the United States of America. That's the system. LLC should be taught in 7th grade through 12th grade. You want to talk about fixing the financial problems in America? Just do that. That's the only battle you have to fight to win that war. Whoa, did I just use expressing conversation and content as a way to wage war? You're damn right. I told you I'm an asshole. I told you I love violence. It's just the way that you look at the world isn't the way I look at the world. It's why I'm making the page. It's why I keep doing the videos so you can look at it like I look at it too. Because the second you stop looking at war as only when people kill each other, you realize this is a fucking war zone. And it's been a war zone. And it's a crazy war zone. And they've got people acting fucking crazy. People have gone insane. That's from the PTSD of the fucking war zone they have us in. Just my humble opinion on my philosophy page based on observation. Capitalism is war. For capitalism to exist, you must buy. And since 90% of the shit you own you didn't really need, they must compel you to buy. The war is getting you to accept that XYZ is needed for your life, or your life is not complete. You are not complete. You are not a full human. You are not successful. You are not a good mate. You are not XY fucking Z. And so what they've done is they've changed how they use words, and they make them sound a certain way, and they make them feel a certain way, and you can identify with that. If they can make you feel that it's bad in some way, if they can target in on some kind of trauma that you've experienced you haven't healed from, and they tell you this is bad and it's associated with this over here, and they can get you to pivot to where this is bad, even though you never had it in your life, no applicable life experience. You shouldn't even have a fucking opinion about it because you never thought about it before. But all of a sudden, you're fucking sure that this is truth over here. Just like they're doing, I'm just leaving concepts out there. I'm leaving you commercials. Hey, do you want to feel like what it feels like to touch your own soul? Do you know what it wants to be like when you get in love with yourself? You know, stupid shit like that. For only $4.99 in a box of Cracker Jacks. Show me where my logic flaw is. Please, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Tell me how you feel about it. Explain to me how your version of war gets more done than my version. Let me know. How's it working out for you? Because the second you hurt somebody physically, you're going to jail. So even the way that you want to wage war, if you want to wage war, and if for some stupid reason you wanted to wage it against me, would have to be a war of the mind. And since I love me and I know all the parts of me and the things I didn't used to like, the things I've changed and things I've amended and all of that, if you can't beat me in my mind, how do you expect to beat me at war? If I know what's right and wrong, how can you try to tell me what's right and wrong? I already know what's right and wrong. I already know when you're a liar and you're not. I already know what it looks like when somebody uses you. So not only do you want to lie to try to fight this war with me, but you want to use concepts that aren't part of me and present them as something you think about in the way that you act and the way that you talk. And you expect me to what? What? Acknowledge it? Pretend anything you're saying has any truth to it? Show any kind of emotion that somebody would talk bad about me? What are we, third grade? I have a face tattoo. Do you really think that your hate and what you think of me has any bearing on how I'm going to tell you should probably love yourself more? See, the thing is war is a positive thing. War is fighting against lies. War is speaking up when things aren't right and making sure they're right. And not because you need to be right, just because that thing is right. That idea is right. That concept is right. That mechanical procedure is perfect. It's already good. Shut up. That's already good. And then they've taught us that that's emotional violence. What do you want? Darwin effect to go back? You want to take all the owner manuals and the user manuals and the instructions, you want to just throw them all in the fire and just see if everybody figures it out? You know how many dead people we're going to have if we take your fucking end result of where you're trying to take society with your mentality? Just throw all the fucking things away and see how many people kill themselves? Because that's the end result of the war that they're pushing on us. Eventually, there's not enough social constructs. Eventually, there's not enough glue that holds us together. Eventually, it becomes Mad Max in the Thunderdome. There's not enough cops to stop all the civilians. There's not enough army men to stop all the civilians. If they blow up their own country, the rest of the world would invade America because it's terrorism to use fucking weapons of war on a populace. And they could clear martial law and all that. When it comes right down to it, they could only take it to a certain level. They could only shoot so many unarmed people in the fucking streets before everybody else's army shows up to save us. That's really how the world's balanced out right now. And you get right down to it, we're not the only people with nukes. Russia's told us to go fuck ourselves a number of times. Look, I got nukes. Fuck you guys. Good or bad or indifferent, there's a bunch of people with a big stick. And Canada came up with the Geneva Convention. Did you know Canada's responsible for that? Good job, Canada. But this concept of war, the idea that somehow you understand war and I do not. It sounds like you've never thought above a soldier level. Not to be rude, but it kind of sounds like your version of war is someone else telling you what to do and you might die. And that's your version of war. Holy fuck. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe, I don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe I don't have any ideas about what's going on and what's real in the world. I've lost touch with reality, as it were. This is video 66. And if you look back and you go and you look at all the comments, or lack thereof, and we all know how the internet is. This is 66 battles in the war that I see that I've won in a row. 66 in a row. Not one, not two, not three, not four, not some of my concepts need to go. I need to go back to the drawing board. I'm 66 battles into this. And I haven't even broken a nail. We haven't run out of Twinkies. Everybody's kind of been sitting behind the front line smoking weed. And every last other army has been like, no, we're not going over there. Nope. Not the woke culture, not the fucking cancel culture, not nobody. Not religious people, not governments. You know what's funny? You can see the statistics. 54% of my audience is shown. Only 54%. Almost all of it in America, Europe, and Canada. So half of my audience doesn't even have an account on YouTube. So I must have got somebody's attention. So I waited to talk about war until now because I wanted to show you how to fight a war, and it only takes 61 days of changing your mentality to win. That's it. They can't physically kill you. If they come after you like that, there's laws. So people will attack you, your character, your word, your drive, your sense of whatever. People will attack that. That's war. That's emotional violence when somebody's trying to make you feel less than you are. And I think I'm more than I am. So if they can bring me down a peg, then that makes me even, right? I thought it was important to express to you what war really looks like. I'm going to show you how to win. Unless you like people, lying on your name, talking down to you, and stealing from you, and having other people fucking act weird towards you, and if you don't want any of that, try out my playbook. See, this morning I won a battle with somebody that I didn't speak one word to. All I did was positivity. I refused to be any kind of negative in any way, shape, or form, and I had absolute faith that that would work. And I got up this morning, and it worked. And they called to fucking surrender without me making one comment to them. And regardless of how I felt or how I felt they could be better or anything else, it wasn't mine to judge, only to see. And in seeing that person, I understood what that person wanted from me. And I didn't give it to them, which was to mentally change how I felt or thought or act irrationally. Anything other than calm, you don't matter, and it doesn't matter. And what you're doing right now doesn't matter. And long term, because I know that I'm staying true and I'm not lying and I'm not trying to do anything outside of live my life and be the best version of myself I can be, that I'll defeat you. Now, I have a suspicion that I might have done this more than once. I might be doing it right now in about 10 different ways in my life. But today, after asking for days, why it was so fucking dark, I got my answer. It never was. And the things that I told myself while going through a situation and reminding myself of exactly who I am and the love that I've given away and like the bonds that I've created, they can't be fucked with through lies. Nothing changes what I did. If I did wrong, you can't change that. You did that. You can change your behavior. But if you did right, If you're doing right, do not fucking switch it up for nobody. Don't stress yourself out and think you need to do more than you're currently doing. Don't think that self-love isn't the biggest form of war you can. In fact, once you drive the tank of self-love out on the battlefield, they just start giving you the keys to their city. They're over it. They're like, nope, listen, I'm gonna go fight these wars over here because I know I can win over here, and you just do you. And if you need anything, you let me know. And other than that, I'm gonna go fuck with those people. And if you come over there, I'm gonna stop because I know you. And I'm not gonna deal with it. I'm gonna go somewhere else and fuck with other people. But here's the keys to the city, and just fuck you. And just off they go. Hate can't sustain itself. It requires something to feed off of. This is a truth. A truth that I will argue to the death. You just have to be willing to love your own life. Even when it's really bad, even when it's really dark, even when things are getting you down, even when it is not good, get grateful. It's not how you just beat greed. Being grateful is how you smile in the face of the fucking devil. You don't get this. Look what I got though. Yeah, but you could have, maybe. I don't even know if that'd be cool or not. I know this is cool because I already got it. Oh, I hate that. Using this mentality creates other people like you. It changes the mentality of how to approach a situation. And I promise narcissists haven't come up with anything new in a long fucking time. So if you hit them with that new shit, they go right into full-blown explosive narcissist mode. There's no way to stop it. It's just like you wound the key up just a little bit and boom, that was it. It doesn't even take long. I've never hunted a wolf because I hated it.